Hey everybody, welcome into this video editing tutorial brought to you as always by tutvid.com. We have a little bit of a mashup today, After Effects and Premiere Pro. It just started as a Premiere Pro thing, but then I was like, well, let's throw some After Effects in there. And, well, I've never done any After Effects tutorials before, so we're wading into new territory. We're going to take a look at creating a lower third, kind of like that one that just popped on screen right there, somewhere around there. We're going to create that in After Effects from scratch, and then we're going to save it out of After Effects and import it into Premiere Pro via dynamic link, and then use text, or it will be what is called a text template, and we'll be able to adjust the text. So when we duplicate that lower third across one single video project, we can obviously have multiple lower thirds, all with different text, all editable right there within Premiere Pro. Now, I am going to have this lower third file. If you're not interested in After Effects, I'll have this as a download down there in the description of this video. You can download the After Effects file and just follow along with the Premiere Pro part if that's all you're interested in, and that's totally cool too. So let's jump into After Effects here and take a look at what I'm talking about. I've got this thing right here, and if I just play through it, you can see that out pops that little bit, but I should probably set this to fit so we can see the whole thing, and out pops the animation just like that. So that's what we're going to create, and as I said, we're going to create it from scratch. So we go File, New, and choose to create, well, in this case, I have a project, but you probably need to create a new project. I'm just going to go ahead and create a new composition here within this project, and I'm going to name the composition Lower Third Tutvid, so Tutvid. The width, I'm going to set it to 2560 by 1440, so in theory, we'll have a big enough file here that'll work great with a 1440p image. We are working with all shapes and stuff, though, so it probably doesn't matter. And I'm going to go with a frame rate of 30. Duration is 10 seconds. You can change that. Honestly, all of this can be changed down the line as well, so it's not really a huge deal, but this is what I'm starting with. So I'm going to hit OK, and we get this blank composition here with which we are working. So first thing I'm going to do is grab the rectangle tool up here, and I'm just going to draw out a rectangle, decent sized, down here in the bottom corner. So something kind of nice and intrusive like that. And I'm going to change the fill here, right? I got the fill option. I'm going to change my fill just to a solid white, and I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to go Window, and my Align panel's open. It's actually right over here, right? Align. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to align this. Well, first of all, I'm going to make sure the layers are aligning to the composition, and I'm going to align to the left and to the bottom to just push that shape all the way down into the bottom. Then I'm going to grab my Move tool here, so I'm going to grab that, or Selection tool, and I'm going to hold down Shift and use my up arrow key 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 times, and then I will probably nudge it in toward the right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just center it off nicely there from that corner. Now, if when you draw your rectangle, you have a stroke, you can see up here I don't have a stroke, but sometimes by default you'll have some kind of stroke, especially if you haven't done a lot in After Effects before. You can just select your shape and just click on the word stroke and then choose the no stroke option. Just a quick way to just cancel off your stroke, hit OK, and you'll have a nice white shape just like myself here. And we can even name this shape layer here if we right click and just choose rename, and we'll name this under shape or something just because it's going to be underneath everything else. Now we're going to grab our text tool, and we're going to type out some text. So I'm going to just click over my shape here, and I'm going to type the word Nathaniel, my name, and I'm going to hit Command Return. That'd be Control Enter to commit that change in the type. And over here on my character panel, which by the way, you can go Window Character if you don't see it. Over here in the character panel, I'm going to go with the font Arial, just because I think it's a font that at least most of us are going to have. So if you download this template, in all likelihood, you should be able to use this. I'm going to set the style here back to regular for the first name. I'm going to set the size to 60 pixels, so we're going to boost the size of the type. And we can even set some spacing here. Maybe for the first name we'll have spacing, for the last name we won't have spacing. So I'll go 50 on my horizontal spacing there. And also, I have checked on this all caps option, right? So I typed everything out in lowercase letters. I'm going to go all caps. That way, no matter how you type it or what you type, it's going to be all caps. And lastly, I'm going to go down to my paragraph panel, and I'm going to make sure that I'm aligning this here to the right. So I'm going to right align this text just like that. Then I'm going to grab my Selection tool, and I'm going to move this over and just place the text where you think it kind of fits. I'm going to go right about sort of the center of my little white rectangle there. And then with my text selected here, I'm going to go Command or Control C to copy and Command or Control V to paste. And you can see I have a second Nathaniel 2 layer. I'm going to drag this over while holding down Shift to keep it in kind of a straight line like that. And then I'll double click on my text, and I'm going to type the word Dodson, my last name, Dodson. And I am going to go back to my paragraph panel here, and I'm going to make sure I align this to the left. So I'm going to left align that, grab my selection tool, and I'm going to drag this over until it's kind of where it is. We'll fine tune it in just a second because we do need to go back to the character panel here and change this from regular to bold. So this is just going to help set off the first and last names. And we can also get rid of that horizontal spacing. So we can get rid of that. And then I can deselect. Yeah, it definitely needs to be nudged a little bit closer because I almost want it to be like as if it's one word. There's no real letter space in between the L and the D. All right, cool. So that's great. And let's copy and paste the last name, Command-or-Control-C, Command-or-Control-V. And I'm going to drag this down here. We're going to put this, I don't know, maybe right around the beginning of my name. And I'm going to double click and I'll just type owner, just owner. I could put owner operator. We'll keep it simple here. We'll go back to our character panel and we'll set the size of this text to 30 pixels. Cool. With the selection tool, we'll just nudge this over and kind of move it into place. So let me hide my bar down there. It's a little distracting. All right, so let me just nudge it over a couple more times. There we go. Something like that's cool. So it's nice and small down there. Nathaniel Dodson, owner. Boom. We've got a little lower third. Now, how do we begin animating this? Well, let's begin by animating the shape first. So we're going to animate this. And the idea is we want this to slide in from off stage over here on the left. So what I'm going to do is with that white shape selected, I'm going to hit the letter P, which is going to bring up my positioning down here in the layers, right? You can see under shape is selected. We got positioning. Now, before I do anything in terms of moving it, I want to kind of choose where I want my animation to stop. I think I want the animation to be a little over a second. So you can see our 1 second marker there. I'm going to go a little over 1 second. And I'm going to hit this little stopwatch here to sort of activate the animation. So I'm going to drop a keyframe there. Then I'm going to move all the way back to the beginning. And all I need to do with my selection tool, right? I got my selection tool here. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm just going to drag. Well, I'm going to start dragging. Then I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to drag this all the way off stage, just like that. And After Effects will automatically create that animation in between. Now, it looks like, hey, look, the letters just show up automatically. That's only because we have this we have this black background back here, so the text appears to be invisible. But when we have video underneath there, if we don't do something with this text, it's just going to be black text floating over the video until this white lower third slides underneath it. So let's animate the text as well. But as I look at this and I watch it, the animation really seems kind of static. It's very flat. So let's enter into the graph editor right here and just throw a quick ease onto this animation. So you can see I can click on this red line here, which is that undershape animation, right? You can see it's this massive graph here. Let's come over here and try to fit the selection to view so we can see what's going on. Yeah, or maybe, yeah, there we go. Fit selection to view. So you can see this is that sort of 1 second animation. And we're just going to choose this right here, this easy ease. It's going to give us a little bit of easing, and then I'm going to click on my graph editor to get out of graph editor. And what we've just done here is if I play through this, you can see it just makes the animation so much smoother and more beautiful. I'm going to zoom out here hitting the minus key so I can see both of my keyframes. You can see even the way the keyframes look has changed because there's some easing on them now. And our lower third just kind of drifts right into place much more smoothly and beautifully than it did before. All right, so let's go ahead and mask the name Nathaniel first so we can have that sort of appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the Nathaniel layer, and I'm going to come back over. I probably want the animation to begin right about here or so, the sort of unmasking of my name. So with my name selected, I'm going to come up here and grab the rectangle tool. Now, when I draw with this, it's going to automatically create a layer mask, or not really a layer mask, just a mask for this little object. So I'm going to begin over here on the right side of the text box. So I'm going to begin right about there, and I'm going to pull back, and I'm going to pull back way beyond my name. The reason I'm doing that is because maybe the person's name isn't Nathaniel. Maybe it's something that's much longer than Nathaniel. Now, my name's 9 letters long, so most names are a little bit shorter than mine, but you know, hey, let's prepare for somebody that has a 15-letter name or something. So we'll make our mask much longer than it needs to be. And if I move over a little bit, we'll see that, yeah, we're covering all of Nathaniel. It's overlapping the D a little bit as well, but that's fine. And what we need to do now is we'll come over here. You can see we have a mask applied to this Nathaniel layer. So when the Nathaniel layer drops down, twirl this little arrow down. There's a mask now on that layer. And we want to even open up this mask. Mask 1 is what we just created. So we'll hit that little arrow to twirl it down. And I'm interested here in mask path. So I know where I want the mask to culminate. I want my name to finish being unfurled by right about here when the mask or when the underlying shape is starting to slide out into the stage. So now that I know that, I'm going to go ahead and click on the little stopwatch next to the mask path option. And then I'm going to move back to where I want the animation to begin. I think I kind of want the animation to begin right about there. So what I will do is with my selection arrow, I'll just double click on the mask, and it's going to give me these transform handles, and I'll just push it all the way back like that, and you can see my name disappears. But as we move forward, my name will sort of unfurl, just like that, right? So we've created that first animation, voila, my name unfurls. So we'll do that same exact technique for both the word Dodson and owner. So we'll come up here to Dodson, we will create a mask, and I'll just drag a mask out, uncover the name. I'll make it a little bit longer in case the person's last name is longer. There we go. And we'll twirl down the mask settings here. We'll choose where we want the mask to begin or the effect to begin. Probably right about here is where we want it to begin, and we want it to be finished when the lower third finishes drifting in. So maybe a little bit beyond where the lower third finishes drifting in. So I'm going to add that keyframe first by hitting that little stopwatch next to mask path. There we go. We're going to back this up to right about there, and I will once again grab my selection arrow. We'll double click on that mask, and we're going to use those transform handles, and we're going to just push that back. So the idea is the name Nathaniel and Dodson will sort of peel out of the middle, because that middle is kind of like our anchor point, if you will, all right? So that looks cool. Let's collapse this. And then for the owner layer, we'll just do a simple, unmasking from the side. So once more, with that text layer selected, we'll just create a nice, long, thin mask, just like so. And we'll pick where we want this to culminate, probably right about where the last name culminates. That's fine. Or, you know what, maybe it should come in a little bit after that. Let's bring it out like here. Here's where it will finish. We'll open up our mask by hitting that little arrow. We'll add that first keyframe for mask path. We'll back it off till about right there, let's say. And we'll double click. Well, I'm going to hit the letter V to grab my selection tool. We'll double click on that, and we will just collapse the path way over, collapse that path for the mask. And now when I play through it, boom, 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 it all just unfurls beautifully, just like it should. So we've created a very simple animation. Well, very simple in some ways, but very complex in others. Just a lot of moving parts. We've created the base of our lower third. Now, there's one other thing we can do that I think would be kind of cool. If we sort of group these three owner, Dodson, and Nathaniel layers together, we can do something neat. But before we do that, actually, this reminds me, we should name these layers because presumably throughout your project, not everybody will have the first name Nathaniel. So let's right-click on this layer and choose Rename, and we'll rename this first name. This is kind of what Premiere is going to pick up and say, okay, hey, Premiere Pro user, enter the person's first name into this text field. And we'll right-click here, and we'll rename this last name. And owner, we'll rename this, and we'll call this like position, or you could call it occupation, or whatever. I'm going to say position, and there we go. That's great. Now I'm going to hold down my Shift key, and I'm going to select last name and first name. So we select all three of those layers. Then I'm going to right-click on those layers and choose Pre-Compose. Right? You see that? Pre-Compose. It's going to kind of lump these together in their own composition. I'm going to call this Text Stuffs. And there we go, text stuff. So you can see it's in its own little area. Now, what I want to do is I want to basically make the text stuff punch a hole in our white rectangle. And I'm going to do that by here in the track matte settings of my undershape layer. I'm going to set this to the alpha inverted matte and use text stuffs, which is the layer right above it. Alpha inverted matte. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut a hole into our lower third. Now, it doesn't look like anything's happening, but if we just deselect everything here, and if I double click on the rectangle tool here, it's going to place a new shape layer just filled with a solid color. And we can choose anything we want. We can go with like a blue here. So I could just choose some old blue. And if I drag this down beneath my undershape, and we play through this, you're going to see that, in fact, the text is simply cutting a hole in our lower third. And that's cool because it's going to show through whatever video we have behind our lower third. Now, a very important point here. Before we drag this into Premiere Pro, we probably want to set this undershape layer. It is just here as a kind of a reference, but just as another side tip, we can right-click on this layer and set it as a guide layer. That way it's not imported via dynamic link when we import the rest of the stuff. We'll just get our text stuffs and our undershape lower third with its animation. So that's pretty cool. All right, we can just save our document here, and let's jump right over to Premiere Pro. And here in Premiere Pro, what I've got is a couple little video clips, one of this guy sitting on his porch and another of this woman cooking something. And we want to apply lower thirds as though this is some documentary. So we'll apply this guy's lower third first. And it begins, I'll come over here into the project bin, and you can import any way that you want. You could right click and choose import. You can Command or Control I and import. I'm just going to go to my Finder and I'm going to drag the After Effects file right in. Tutvid lower third.aep. I can drag it in and drop it on my project file. And you can see that Premiere is going to say, hey, what do you want to import? Well, remember we grouped everything into this text stuffs, but we really want to import our entire lower third composition. This lower third and this text bits, that was just that original one that I showed you. You can ignore those for this tutorial. Lower third, we want to import the entire composition that we made, and that includes that pre-composed composition of text stuffs. So we're going to hit OK. And you're going to see it's going to bring it in right here. Now, it doesn't look like much, but we can tell right off the bat, hey, look, we haven't brought the blue background in, so that's good. Well, let's drag this out and place it here. And you can see it's a little bit too big for the video. Why is that? Well, remember, when we created the composition, we made it 2560 by 1440. This is 1080p video, so it's a little bigger than we need. That's not bad, though. We can simply select that composition, right-click, and choose Scale to Frame Size, and it's going to scale us right to where we need to be, right? You can see there's the animation. Everything looks good. And maybe the lower third's a little bit too high, but you know what? We're going to leave it the way it is. You could select it and adjust the positioning here in Premiere and just dump it down a little bit, and the animation will still do its thing and everything will be great. So we could do that, but I'm not going to do that because we're going to be duplicating this animation, this After Effects project. So I'm going to just leave it the way we made it and presume that we had something in mind and we knew what we were doing. All right, so now if we want to go ahead and change the text in this is where the magic can happen here. You just select that file, actually click on it over here in your project bin, and up here in the Effect Controls panel, we right now are working in our sequence, the text template sequence, but we have this other little tab here, Master, lower third. If we select that, we have all this stuff, position, last name, first name, just like we had filled out in our After Effects composition. So I can change the first name here. I can change it to like Joshua. We could change the last name to, I don't know, Chemi or something. I don't know. We'll just throw some letters in there. And we can change its position here to relaxation expert or something, right? He looks pretty chilled out. So he's a relaxation expert. Now, a couple of things happen. You can see that our lower text is now a little bit out of whack and maybe not quite where we want it to be. Maybe we really want this to be shifted closer to that center point. We can do that. Or maybe we just like the fact that every lower third is going to be a little bit different, and that's going to be sort of a style that we roll with throughout our video. So a couple things you can do. You can just leave it, or we can jump right back over to After Effects and we can say, hey, you know what? In the text stuffs, and now it's all grouped together, so we have to double click on it to get within it. So now we're in our text stuffs composition here. I can select position, and I'm going to be working blind here because this stuff is all just pitch black, but I'll drag out to about here, and I know that my word is right here, the word owner, and the center of my text is, well, there's one piece of text, there's the other piece of text, so the center is right about here. So maybe I'll take this and I'll say, you know what, why don't you slide over a little bit to the right? So I'll hit the letter P, which will open up my positioning really quickly there, and I can just slide this guy over just like that, and I can see, all right, now we're closer to being lined up maybe the way I want to be. There we go, something like that. But what I also have to remember is I don't have this text center aligned. This text is aligned. If I open up the character, or not the character panel, the paragraph panel, it's aligned left. So maybe I could align it center, but we do have to be careful because we have that mask applied. In fact, I'm going to just stick with it aligned left, and I'll just kind of, I'll live with the consequences here. So there we go, something like that. Let's just leave it like that. And if it's a little staggered, I think that'll work. That'll look cool. This is more or less to just give you an example of what can be done here. I'm going to close my text stuff. In fact, I'm going to close the old lower third as well. So now we're back to our regular composition. We're just going to save this, Command or Control S. I jump back over to Premiere Pro, and there you go. It just the whole thing updates automatically. And this is really, really great when you have done a project and you've placed 30 lower thirds, and the client says, "Ooh, it's really cool, except the color of the lower third shouldn't be white; it should be a light green." Well, you can bring it back to After Effects. Boom, make one update, one change, and everything changes across the board. But that's not it. Let's say you need a second lower third, right? We need one for this young lady here who's cooking. Well, we can simply right-click on our After Effects file here and choose to duplicate it. So we'll just duplicate it, and we'll drag that duplicate out. Let's say we want to place it right right here when she enters frame. And once more, we'll just right-click on this, and we will scale it to the frame size. And we'll move the playhead over so we can see her full name. And once more, we'll come up here and select master. Make sure you have the correct After Effects composition selected in your project panel. We'll go master, and we'll change her name to Betty. We'll just say Betty Crocker because I'm not great at coming up with names on the spot. So we'll say Betty Crocker, and we'll call her a chef, right? So there we go. Betty Crocker, chef. And you can see there's her lower third. And if we go back to Josh's lower third, it still is there. It retains all the information. Nothing has changed. It is what it is. And I probably should show at this point, since we have two of these in place, if I go back to After Effects yet again and we say, you know what? The undershape, we actually don't want it to be white. I'm going to grab my selection arrow here, select that shape. You can see our fill is white. We want this to be, I don't know, a light pink or something. Let's go with like a very light pink. I can hit OK. I can save this. We can jump back to Premiere. And you can see his updates, the Joshua guy, and also the chef, Betty, hers updates as well. So that's a perfect example of how something that should be a small, quick change actually can be a small, quick change, even when you've placed multiple lower thirds already from an After Effects file. And by the way, if you're just downloading the After Effects file that I'm giving down in the description of this video, you don't even need a license for After Effects to edit this stuff here in Premiere Pro. This is all stuff that can just be done in Premiere Pro. You don't need After Effects in order to make these changes. If you wanted to go and make color changes and stuff like that, then yes, you will need After Effects. Now, I just went and changed the color back to white really quickly there, and we can jump back over to Premiere Pro. And yeah, well, number one, there you go. It's updated. But yeah, there you go. You can see that you can quickly and easily create a nice little animated lower third in After Effects. But the real thing, the thing that the whole tutorial started out being based around was that text template idea in Premiere Pro, and it kind of spiraled into this whole lower third tutorial. But I think it's good. I think it will be useful for a lot of folks out there. You can see how to create and animate your own custom lower third. Of course, you can download that free custom lower third down there in the description of this video. And that's pretty much it for this one. If you've enjoyed it, please make sure, well, number one, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any tutorials in the future. And also go ahead and give the video a thumbs up if you really did enjoy it. Guys, for creating a lower third in After Effects and all the stuff that comes along with that, from motion tweening and just everything, the masking and the animating and the text and the this and that, and the dynamic link to Premiere Pro and so on and so forth. That's it. Get it? Got it? Good. Nathaniel Dodson, tutvid.com. I'll catch you in the next one.